Hi friends, let's talk about the books that I read in the month of June. In June, I ended up reading 10 books, which puts me at a total of 57 books for the year, and I am a long way from my Goodreads goal of 140 books, and I'm very behind. But I have faith that I am catching up. The first book that I read was West with Giraffes by Linda Rutledge. This was a Kindle Unlimited pick, and I had heard some good things about it. I was intrigued by the title, so I ended up picking it up. This book is about a young man who ends up taking a train to New York City, trying to escape his past. And while there, he discovers that there's a ship that comes in with some giraffes, and he ends up becoming a caregiver to these giraffes. There is a little bit of a love story in this book. It was very cute. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I will say, this being a historical fiction is not usually my genre, and I did not care for the narrator of this book, so just keep that in mind if you're picky about your narrators for your audiobooks. This guy was not for me. There's an aspect of an old man telling this story. He's writing it out in a journal, and he's trying to get it all down on paper, and then his flashbacks slash journal entries are him traveling with the giraffes on trains with the circus. It's very intriguing. There were some slower parts. I think the narrator just really did it in for me, but I ended up giving this book 3 stars. Next, I read The Possession by Michael Rutger. This is the second book to the Anomaly. It's part of the Anomaly Files series. I think that there's only the two, and that's probably all there will ever be. This book follows our main character, Nolan, from the first book, and he is trying to come up with another episode. It's kind of like Unexplainable Mysteries. That's the best way I can sum up what that show is about. But he ends up in a village where there are unique walls with runes on them, and they're all shaped very differently. So he is trying to do a show about that, and lo and behold, his wife, soon to be ex-wife, shows up for a totally unrelated reason, and things start to go crazy. This is a horror book. It is creepy. I liked that aspect of it. It wasn't as creepy as when they went to the Grand Canyon in the first book, because that just made me feel so claustrophobic. This doesn't give me that feeling, but it is still eerie. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars, and I would definitely recommend it if you enjoy horror. Next, I read Just Friends by Haley Pham. I was so excited for this book. I am so glad that I did read it. This is Haley Pham's debut novel, and it is a romance about two childhood friends. I thought that Declan and Blair were very cute characters. I just was very frustrated that as the audience, we did not have the information, and it just kept coming up, the accident, the accident, the accident, and I didn't know what the accident was until the end of the book, and it was very frustrating for me. I think that the family aspect of this is very good. I really like her prose, and I'm excited for the next book because I know that she's going to continue to improve upon her writing, and I think this was really good for a debut novel. I gave this book 3 stars. Next, I read Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I had heard this book was hilarious, and I would have to agree. This book had me laughing, but there was also some very serious parts about it. It is about a young woman who, her life is kind of chaotic, and it's not necessarily due to her own faults. Her mom was just not really there, but she did have a very close friend, and that friend has asked her to come be a live-in nanny for said friend's new stepchildren that are coming to live with her. This is a magical realism book because anytime the kids get overwhelmed with any emotion, excitement, frustration, sadness, they spontaneously combust. I thought that this was such a good metaphor for how our emotions can take over our lives, and I really enjoyed that. I think that there's such a good relationship between our main character and the kids. Even though they're complete strangers, I really liked that, and I think it was because our main character had been through so much in her childhood that she can relate to these kids. Even though it's not necessarily the same thing that they went through, I think it worked out very well. for everybody involved. The ending was a little chaotic. I would highly recommend this book if you have not read it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Next, I read Lightfall, A Place Between. This is the 4th volume in the Lightfall series. This is such a cute middle grade graphic novel about there being no light in our world, and so everybody is suffering from that. There is darkness that is taking over. We follow a group of characters that are trying to save the world. I love that they always find each other and they always have each other's backs in the end, even when they disagree with each other. I think that there are some very good lessons to be learned in this book. I gave this book 5 stars because I usually give graphic novels 5 stars, but I love the illustrations. I love the messages. I think that they do such a good job of progressing the story, but also making it very interesting while the political stuff is happening, especially for children, but they may not always be interested in that. Next, I read A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy I. Lin. This is about a young woman who travels to the palace for a magical competition. The magic system in this is being able to brew tea in a certain way, and you get abilities based off of how you brew this tea. Very cool. These characters also have to have their own abilities, but we're following Ning. She is our main character. She is told that if she wins this competition, she will be granted a favor, and she is trying to save her sister. There is really high stakes in this because her sister is probably going to die, and they find out that Ning is not actually supposed to be there. She's not a true apprentice to one of these professional tea brewers, and so stakes become very high for herself as well. This is a YA novel. I think that it was very well told for being YA, and I cannot wait to pick up the rest. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Next, I read Finley Donovan number 6, Finley Crosses the Line by El Casamano. This series is so good, y'all. It is just fast-paced hijinks, makes me laugh out loud. I adore these books so much. Without giving too much away, this book specifically, we follow Finley and she has to help clear somebody's name, and so she ends up getting into a lot of hijinks like she usually does, including breaking and entering, kidnapping, just all the things, and you are always on the edge of your seat when you read these books because you're like, oh my god, is she gonna get caught? It's so good. And then there's a big surprise at the end. I definitely recommend reading this if you have not read this series already. All of them are very good. They are so funny. You're gonna love the relationship between Finley and Barrow, her once housekeeper but now best friend, and you're just gonna love their banter. I can't recommend this book series enough. I gave Finley number 6 4.5 stars. Next, I read through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shauna Maguire. This is the 11th book in the Wayward Children series. If you have not read this series is about these portal worlds that exist, and children go to these worlds, and then when they come back, they end up at a special school. Some of these books follow the children at the school. Some of these books follow the children in the Wayward worlds. These children are always looking for a door, trying to get back to the worlds that they came from. This particular book, we are following one of the children that has gone back to her world, and it has fallen under siege. So she ends up going back to the school for help. It is up to these children to figure out what's going on and how to save this world from ruin. These are very short books. They're very quick to read. I am starting to think that the audience for these books, because it used to be a middle grade series, is getting a little bit older because now they're cursing. I was very surprised to hear the F word while listening to this book. So just be aware going into that if that offends you. But yeah, I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Next, I listened to 9 Goblins by T. Kingfisher. This is a little novella about a band of goblins that are teleported behind enemy lines and they are trying to get home. They do find some friends on the other side of the enemy lines, and they also come across this town where nobody's there. Nobody exists. They're all just gone. And it's not like they were all killed. They just all disappeared all at once. So they're trying to figure out the mystery of that, but also trying to survive and figure out how they're going to get back home. It's a cute little short story. I enjoyed it. The goblins were really funny. I love that they all have their own unique personalities and unique abilities, and it is like a giant family. I liked that aspect about this a lot. I ended up giving Nine Goblins 4 stars. The last book that I read was Dawn to Dawn, volume number 1. This is a new manga series that I'm starting. I really enjoy the anime, and I decided to pick up the manga to see if maybe the manga's ahead of the anime, because the anime stopped in season 2 and I want more, so I'm going to read the books. This series is about 2 high schoolers, one that believes in ghosts and one that believes in aliens. They end up coming across one another and they make a bet with one another that there's no such thing as ghosts or aliens, and so obviously the one that respectively believes in those things decides that they are going to prove the other one wrong. Well, it turns out they're both correct. There are both aliens and ghosts. Unfortunately, the boy protagonist ends up possessed by the ghost that he meets. So our female protagonist is trying to figure out how to save him because her grandmother's a medium, and so she is more into the occult things. It's very chaotic. It is crazy. I don't know what else to explain about this without giving everything away, but it is so entertaining. I really enjoyed the anime. So far, the first volume is very close to the anime as well. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. Let's talk about my statistics. So, I read 1 physical book, 6 audiobooks, and 3 ebooks this month for a total of 2,780 pages. That's an average of 111 pages per day. I didn't read every day in June, and that's probably why I'm so far behind. But my husband and I went out of town. We were on the road. We did listen to a book, but we did not finish that book in June. On average, it took me 2.7 days to read a book. Again, wasn't reading every day. My average rating was 3.95 stars. We love anything above 3.7. That is ideal for me. I read 6 female authors, 4 male authors, and 5 new-to-me authors. I read 1 middle grade, 3 YA, and 6 adult. I read 4 fantasy, 1 romance, 2 thriller, 2 other, and 1 historical fiction. And my favorite book of the month was Finley Donovan number 6. Followed closely by A Magic Steeped in Poison. I really like that story, but Finley will always take the cake. I can't wait for the next installment, and I have to wait until March for the next book. Let's change over my board. I read 10 books, so let's change it out. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today. If you've read any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below, or if I have inspired you to read any of these books, please let me know. I always like to hear from you guys and have a conversation in the comments. If you don't know what to comment, please leave me the teacup emoji, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Happy reading. I'm getting it done. Get her done. This is a horror movie. Let me tell you who it's by, Abby. Some of our, the Nights That Say Me. I don't know what that noise was. That was weird. Okay, my average rating was, close this door.